Welcome to TNT, baby, the naked truth with Taylor Armstrong, where I'm going to expose everything about my life, and my guests are going to come on, get naked with me, and bear it all. Now let's get naked.
So I'm looking at Instagram, and there you are at the grand opening of Mark Wahlberg's restaurant. I think it's Fletcha Cantina.
Fletcha Cantina.
And I was like, you were lined up with all the girls, and I noticed a certain somebody was with you. How did the weekend go?
I know. Well, first of all, it was kicking off my birthday week, and you and I have dragged this whole birthday experience out. It was perfect because we're both Gemini, so it was super fun. But so Mark Wahlberg opened Fletcha Cantina, named after his tequila, and threw a great launch party in Huntington. And it was so fun. I ran into a lot of my friends, Heather McDonald, who I love, who's so hysterical,
Oh my gosh, she's
and
so funny.
definitely want to go on her podcast soon and have some juicy scoop, which is what hers is called, as you well know.
So cute.
And then I ran into a bunch of the housewives because we always seem to flock to the same places. Vicky Gunvalson, the ultimate OG from the Real Housewives of Orange County. And
I love her.
I love her too. She's just awesome and so smart. And as I was getting out of my car, it was interesting because one of my OC housewife friends was getting out of her car behind me, and I haven't heard from her in quite some time. And I actually have been really hurt over it. So when I saw her, she said, "Oh my God, how are you?" Act excited to see me. And I said, "Actually, I'm hurt."
Yeah.
And you hurt my feelings.
I'm so glad that you actually said that, because I know you'd even told me about it. Like, it kind of bothered you, and it would bother me too.
She was going through a really dark time in a roller coaster relationship, and you and I have both been there. So I want to be
Absolutely.
supportive of my friends in everything they do, but especially in a situation like that. So I was her go-to call, morning, noon, night, middle of the night, just as many times as I could be there.
And I know that is who you are. Like, you're always that friend that answers the phone at any time.
I know.
Yeah.
But I want to be, because I know there was a time when I needed that. And so it was meant from love and friendship. And then when her life changed and all of a sudden everything was different for her and she didn't need me any longer, crickets. I haven't heard a single word from her, and it's so hurtful to me. And one of our other OC Housewives friends had said to me, "You just wait and see. The minute that she doesn't need you anymore, you won't hear from her." And I thought that's impossible, because we're on the phone 3-4 times a day for hours listening to her cry and trying to support her, and there's no way she's just going to drop off the face of the earth. And I'll be damned if that exact same thing did not happen to me.
Oh my gosh, it's horrible.
I know. And she was, I feel as though she was kind of taken aback, but it's been a long time, and she just dropped me like a hot potato. And she said, "Oh, I'm sorry." And I said, "Well, you hurt me. You hurt my feelings." And I think part of that is just the time investment that went into it, and really putting my heart into her problems and empathizing and listening. And I want to do that for all my friends, as you and I do with one another all the time.
Right.
But I expect reciprocation.
Absolutely. I think that it's not that it's like selfish. I think there's like a name for that type of friend, but it's interesting because at the same time, it's like she's going through this trauma and she's attaching your friendship to the trauma. So when she's ready to move out of the trauma, right, then she's over it. Oh my God, I said
Right. Okay, the game continues with the
We're still
right
at
and
this.
like.
We're still at
Anytime
this.
we say right or like, we have to put a
Chip in the bucket.
chip into the bucket, and the bucket is getting full very fast.
I know, and it's mostly black.
But to your point, so I see what you're saying. So I was attached to trauma for her.
That's what I think it is, because I don't think she means any ill will towards you. But the thing is, you think you're building a friendship, and really you're being used. I mean, I think it's a tool, or what's the name? There's a name.
I think
for
they
this
call
kind
it
of friend.
one of the three types is a utility friendship.
Utility friendship.
Right.
It's a utility friendship, not for you, for her.
It would be nice if someone could tell you, by the
Yeah.
way, you're my utility friend.
At least you know what you're getting into. You're like not going to be so like heart-based invested in it, you know?
Yeah, it's kind of like that friend in college that maybe was really good at calculus or something. And so you always wanted to study with that person because they were your utility to get you through calculus, and they actually
Absolutely.
thought you had a real friendship. But it was like is utility the same as usury?
Yeah, I feel like that's happened to me too. Even with like the social media thing, like, oh, can you help me? I'm like best friends, and then next thing you know, I'm like managing 4 Instagram accounts for free.
Well, and with you
It
also,
happens
because you have such an incredible
like
marketing background, I
I
feel like
know.
a lot of your friends come
Well,
to
you want to
you
help
wanting
them.
help. And
Yeah.
then is it reciprocal or is it utility?
It's utility because then when you're like, hey, I don't have any time to help you, and then all of a sudden it's like you're not getting invited out for happy hour anymore.
Right. So the only
Yeah.
reason that they want to hang out is so that they can use your genius for
Yeah.
calculus or marketing. But it's a shitty feeling.
It
I mean, it
is.
really, but it's interesting because I didn't think about you saying that I was attached to a traumatic situation for her. So maybe I'm trying to now, as usual, give someone the benefit of the doubt. Maybe
Oh,
they,
I don't want you to do
I
that.
know, maybe they feel like I am a reminder of
Yeah.
all those crying and sleepless nights.
It's true. I think that I think that happens, especially when you talk about things out loud in relationships or in friendships, when you're like complaining about your boyfriend or like anything that you're complaining about, or you're putting like negative on. When you've like healed from it and you want to move on to it, you kind of notice that you subconsciously leave other things behind as well. It's just like you're trying to move over. So like if she shared too many personal things with you, or too many things that later it's like I don't want to be that person anymore. It's like when she's now hanging out with you, she probably feels like she's trapped in that type of thing. But it would take 2 people that are educated and self-aware to talk to each other and be like, okay, I'm totally moving on. Like, I don't want to talk about my ex anymore. I don't want to talk about whatever anymore. But I love our friendship. So like, let's see if we can like have a friendship outside of my complaining.
Absolutely. Yes, well said. And also, I didn't realize that it was a utility friendship sitting on the other side of it. I
Yeah.
thought actually there was an intimate friendship there because she was sharing so much with me. And
Right.
in the reverse, I was sharing
With
stories about
her.
my roller coaster relationship to help her through. So I didn't attach my pain to her. I was willing
Right.
to still have what I thought was an intimate friendship based on mutual love and respect and I
Of
guess
course.
friendship.
So it's very disappointing.
It's very
and it's
dis-
almost heartbreaking, especially when you like are investing in somebody and you don't realize that they're so, I don't want to say narcissistic, but very self-centered and not very self-aware on how they're affecting other people's lives around them as well.
Well, I was talking to one of my other friends about it, and they said, oh, that's because she's an energy vampire, which
Oh.
was a new term for me, but a lot of it makes sense when I've looked up the definition of energy vampire.
It absolutely. I mean, so I've heard that before too, the energy vampire. And I think for me, it's not that kind of energy, but you do think like, yeah, it's the same type of thing. I used to be like in a group chat with all of my friends, and they're good friends. They were good friends. They were good friends. And we used to talk all the time. And, you know, a year went by and I realized I'm really trying to improve myself. I'm trying to improve who I am. I'm trying to change my lifestyle, my mindset. And every day I'm talking on, we use this app Marco Polo. So it's like video chatting back and forth.
Marco Polo.
And every day it's like the same story. And then you realize, well, a year and a half's gone by. We talk almost daily. And I just realized that this is becoming a super negative space. It's actually affecting my mindset in a bad way.
Right.
And like, I mean, I want to be your friend, but I don't want like all of our interaction to be just complaining about how horrible our lives are, but without doing anything about it.
I couldn't agree
Yeah.
more. And you have some of those friendship groups that are just filled with so much gossip
Yeah.
that it's not empowering whatsoever.
draining.
It's completely draining. And that's one of the things I was reading about energy vampires is that if you feel fatigued when you walk away from being with one of those type of people, or annoyed, or just like were dumped on or exhausted. I mean, you've been
To
around
where you
people.
feel physically affected.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then are you giving away your power and your ability to move forward? Because like you were saying, if your friends are constantly complaining about their lives, over time, it keeps you from moving forward, thinking about the negative parts of your own life.
Which I think this brings you back to that you become like the top 5 people that you hang around the most. If you're hanging around people that are empowering you, and that no matter what it is, they don't look at you like in anything except for like, hey man, let's be friends. We're going to go to the moon together. You know, like let's
Absolutely.
do this together, because it takes a team and you have to build those people around you. You have to build your team. And if you want to get anywhere to reach any kind of goal, you have to know who's on your team.
Yeah, you should
Yeah.
feel when you walk away from time with a
Energized.
friend, energized and
Yes.
thinking, and also opening up each other's eyes to different aspects that you might not be seeing with your own eyes because you have a friend to bounce thing off of is very
Absolutely.
encouraging and reciprocal in, hey, have you thought about it this way? Because I want to help you get to the moon.
And I feel like that's part of like development as well, is that you can develop those relationships the more confident you are as a person, because you can say negative things and it doesn't mean this person's never going to talk to you again. And it's when you are aligned in your goals and your energy, and I think that's like that third friendship is character. If you have character, it's a lot easier to connect with other people that have strong character, right? In the way they treat each other. So you're not scared to be who you are.
That's like getting naked
It
and really
is.
knowing what your own core values and your truth is in order to surround yourself with people that also have the similar goals. And then it's hard. So, okay, you have this friend group that you were
Right.
speaking about,
Yes.
and you feel like your goals are not aligned, and there's so much negative energy that you're feeling a little energy vampired when you're on the calls with them. So, how do you walk away and say, I can't do this because it's bringing me down?
Right? I think I just kind of went MIA, which I didn't mean to. And then I started checking in, and they're like, well, you just check in once in a while, say something about yourself, and then you leave. I go, well, I don't want to ask questions because I know I'm not going to be here to answer them later tonight or tomorrow or whatever. It might be another week before I check in on this platform. But then I start thinking, well, if you really wanted to be my friend, wouldn't you just call me or like maybe text message? Like, why do we have to exclusively talk through this app, right?
And those are exhausting.
Yeah.
I'm on so many of them because my daughter, being an athlete, still being young, all the moms are on these big long chats, and
Never
when
ending.
people share their emotions, it's like, oh no, I don't want to look, because then there's 24 of us and now everyone has to give advice or
gosh.
share an emoji, and it's just can be very exhausting.
It is exhausting.
But trying to figure out how you move forward without saying, I can't handle the negative aspects of this friendship group, because you want to be there for the person or people. And it's not that you don't want to be a friend, but if they're not moving forward, then it's holding you back.
Yeah, it is holding you back. And so I think you can't really explain that because there's no explaining it. Like, I'm pretty sure I'm an energy vampire sometimes to some people.
Absolutely not.
I do think so. And I think that also, like, I can also encompass that, like, I might over text. Sometimes my texts are as long as my emails, which are a little bit outrageous. So I know that I have issues as well. But I think that it doesn't really matter. Like, in the end, I know that sounds horrible. We all have to protect our own energy source and do our best to not affect other people. But I mean, we're all human. So like, no matter what, there's going to be something that's wrong, but you have to be character based. So like, even with Shannon, for instance, like, right.
Yes.
I think that like, if she would have just talked to you and used like a better character in her, I hate to say that, but like just going MIA on somebody after they've been there for you and with no response it's literally ghosting. And
I was totally ghosted by a friend. I thought that was
Yeah.
like a romantic relationship
Right.
thing. But and it was not as though we had an argument or anything. It was just that when I wasn't needed anymore, I was discarded. And
Literally.
I'm not even I'm not angry at all. I'm just kind of like, wow, that really shocked me. And it hurt me because I thought that you were a bigger and better person and a closer friend. I thought that this was reciprocal.
You
I
gave her
didn't
too
realize
much.
I was a utility.
Yeah, you gave her too much credit.
Way too much credit.
And that's where that's like where the problem is, right? Like, you expect people to be a certain way, but the other thing is she's also probably going through so much that she's not really able to be a good friend. But like, what she gave you was probably to the capacity that she could give you, right? And why she didn't verbalize those things or talk to you about it is where the pain is. The pain is not in that you don't have time for me or that you're going through so much or that whatever. Like, I can understand all that. I'm sure you
Right.
can, because you're the most understanding person I've ever met in my life. But it's just that she ghosted you.
Also,
It's
I'm
mean.
mad at I think I'm also mad at myself because
Yeah.
I consider myself to be an excellent judge of character, especially after all the years of dealing with housewives and meeting a lot of people who are energy vampires and want something from you constantly. And when I was told by Tamara, who is a friend of mine also, she warned me ahead of time that this was going to happen because it happened in her relationship with Shannon. And I thought, that's never going to happen. Not with me, because I've been there so much. And now
Right.
I feel like an idiot. Like I was totally
Yeah.
hoodwinked and ghosted and dropped by the side of the road.
Right. It's so horrible. Okay, so there's one big
Oh.
question. So what happened when you saw her? Like you saw her, you guys were there, you looking across the table. Was there tension? Was it weird? Like what happened?
Well, we got out at the valet and she acted like there had been no space in between. Just, hey, oh my gosh, great to see you. And I thought, am I the only one that realizes that I haven't heard from you in a very, very, very long time? And that I just was surprised that she acted like we hadn't even missed a beat. And so then after I said, my feelings are really hurt and that I haven't heard from you, and I had been told that you were going to do this to me, and I was just shocked that it actually happened. I think she was a little shocked, and I'm not sure if she had to go through some self-reflection, but then it was just awkward for the rest of the night. And the guy that she was in the relationship with on the roller coaster that I had to listen to on a daily basis was at the opening of Fletcha Cantina also.
Oh my
and
gosh.
so that was super awkward. And he was at one end of the table, which happened to be where I was sitting talking to someone else. And Shannon was all the way at the other end. And so it couldn't
Got
have
worse
been
and worse
it
and
was
worse.
so very awkward. And it wasn't meant to be that way. It just ended up that I was talking with one of the newer OC housewives, and she was sitting at that end. So it wasn't intentional on my part. And as I said, I'm not angry. I don't want to get back at anyone. It just
course not.
surprised me. And I don't think I felt as used in a friendship as when maybe I was in high school. I just didn't think that grown women, even though, I mean, come on, with housewives, there's a lot of fighting, but that they would turn your back on a friend like that.
It's difficult.
Surprising.
It's interesting, but I do think that her being like shocked, either one, she is a fabulous actress, or two, she literally is completely unaware of her behavior.
That's almost how it seemed. Just that she's so wrapped up in her own world
Yeah.
that she was unaware somehow of the fact that I had completely disappeared, which I find impossible because we spent so much time together. And then, the other day I had an interesting friend tell me someone that is a real friend to me, that they have their friends that they just go out and hang out with. And I was
Pleasure
thinking
friends.
about the friends that I see regularly, because I love live music, and so there's a big group of us that go listen to live music.
So many.
But then we don't really talk outside of that. So what is that, like a party friendship or
The pleasure friendship.
pleasure? That's a better name for it than
Yeah, it's
party
the
friendship.
pleasure friendship.
Yeah, it's like
You just have fun together.
You do fun things together.
And you
but-
don't worry about your friendship.
Right. And when you see each other, you're super happy
You
to
just
see
have a
each
good
other,
time.
hang out, have fun. And I would, of course, be there for them if they ever needed me, but we just have a great time together. And I think that is also the situation with me and some of my daughter's athlete moms. So, pleasure friendships. Now, I love to listen to live music, as you know, and go out and hang out with my friends. But there are definitely friends of mine that I only see in certain spaces because we have common interest.
I love
And I
that.
think that's perfectly normal, and it's fine. And when we see each other, we don't get deep. We just enjoy ourselves, have fun, and then we walk away until we see each other again. Now,
No expectations.
no expectations.
No rules, no like laying it all out there. It's just kind of like, hey, Anesha's playing tonight. You want to go?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'll be there. I was already going to go. Okay, cool. See you
See you
there.
there.
That's
Exactly.
it. You have a great time for like 4 hours, go home. And then it's like a couple Thursdays later, you're like, hey, Anesha's playing. Where do you want to go?
The great part about it is it's actually a building feeling. Like we talked about character friendships. When you walk away from a character friendship, you feel positive and supported and excited, and you want each other to succeed. And in a pleasure friendship,
You just
the
look forward to the next
consistency
time.
of just like, let's just enjoy each other's time together. And that feels like it builds me up too, is getting excited to see my live music friends.
Yeah,
So-
exactly. I'm sure you're like, I wonder who's going to be there tonight. Or like, what, I think you can look forward to it just like a regular thing, a regular friendship where you call each other and you make a exact plan. But I like the spontaneity of it.
It is
And
fun.
it is kind of like having a team, like people like team sports, or just like being the camaraderie of liking the same thing, whether it's like a hiking club or live music or bowling. Well, bowling's more team organized, but those places where you can just show up and be there and exist and have a good time and go home.
And the great thing
Yeah.
about it too, and with the pleasure friendships in those examples, is if one of the normal people that you see live music or hiking. If they don't come, there's no obligation. It's just like, hey, we're all going to be here. I hope you're there. And if they're not, it's not a big
No.
friendship where you feel hurt, or it's just an exciting, fun time to spend together.
Yeah, I think I like that. Do you think a pleasure friendship can also be like a regular friendship, but you only call that person to do things? Like, I have one friend who likes to drink. And if I know that if I'm going to a bar to see live music, that's my friend that I bring for that.
Wait, is that me?
No. It could be that.
I'm a multifaceted friend with you.
You are. I think that's why you're like a best friend. I think you have to be like all of those things, and they have to work harmoniously to like really hit it off, like have a long-term friendship. They have to have all those things.
I totally agree, because in the character friendships, you definitely have to have intimacy and really share a lot about your lives together to build those long-term character relationships. But if you can take those character relationships and still have a pleasure friendship aspect,
Absolutely.
all wrapped up into one. And then with the utility friendship, if it's reciprocal,
I think it's like a mutual using because you want each other to succeed.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, I have this opportunity. I met this person. Or, hey, I'm going to go to this networking event. You want to come with me? You could meet somebody for your business. Or it's just supporting that person like indefinitely and forever.
so the ultimate friendship, I think we've determined, is when you have the character, pleasure, and utility, as long as it's mutual,
Yes.
all put together. But don't ghost your friends.
Yeah,
Just
don't
do
ghost
it.
your friends.
Don't ghost, because it just hurts. I mean, just sit down and explain.
I mean, like, come on. Like, I don't even okay, the whole ghosting aspect to me is just totally insane. And I don't know what it's from, like people thinking they have no respect for other people, like whatsoever. Like, this is another human being with feelings. I don't think like ghosting in dating, ghosting in business, just ghosting in general. Learn how to be accountable for your own actions and feelings.
Amen.
It doesn't matter what they are. I would rather have somebody just tell me like, hey man, like you drive me crazy.
Right.
Like, I just cannot maintain this. And we just go, yeah, you know what? Guess what? I kind of have some things with you too, probably, right? Because it would have worked out one way or another. But you're just like, okay, and you agree to walk away. Like, that's so much better than not knowing what's going on.
Yeah, have the balls to tell someone what's going on as
Yeah.
opposed to just disappearing from their life.
Right.
That's so immature. It
It's
blows
rude.
my mind, and I hear the term all the time, and I think, are these grown-ups that are actually just disappearing from people's
Yes.
lives without an explanation?
Or in the middle of conversations. It's just like,
so immature.
it's just so weird. I have friends that like literally, I'm probably one of them actually. You text
No,
a
you're
bunch.
not.
I text people and then I just think to myself, like, they'll just get back to me whenever they can. Like, I don't sit there and actually wait for a response. But then I have friends that wait for responses. And because I'm so busy, I'm like, oh, you know what I mean? It's like,
then they get their feelings hurt.
yeah, then they get their feelings hurt. And I'm like, oh, but it's text message. I guess I feel like if you need to get a whole thought out, you need to talk to a person.
100%.
Because how do you not misread each other? Because I could have like, like my friend could have sent me a text and I might have looked at it. This is how my life goes. I might have looked at it. So now it says that I read it or whatever. And I'm in the middle of another conversation while I looked at it because I was being rude to that person.
Right.
Because I'm like on my
It's
phone
so
100 times. And then they're like, you left me on red for like 3 hours. I'm like, I don't even know what red is. And like, what does that mean?
Pay attention to me.
I'm like, how do I explain? Like, I didn't do it intentionally at all. I'm literally not paying attention in detail. And then I'm at home and I go through like the 20 texts I didn't respond to.
I know. It happens to me all the time, especially because I'm on so many group texts too. And it's just
Yeah.
pinging and pinging and pinging and pinging. And sometimes I wish on those big groups that someone would just say a separate one that's just the facts. Like, okay, we're all meeting at 7. Like, bring a water bottle. Like, I need to know just where I need to be,
should
when
be
I need to be.
pinned.
Here's the address. And then that's it. Because
my
I don't need all the emojis that go along the way, because then I can't
love
keep
it.
track of everything. And it's not for lack of wanting to, it's for lack of time. I don't think any of us can keep up with all that goes on with our texts and our emails. It's impossible. So
It's actually becoming overwhelming.
it really is.
And then you're supposed to have a real friendship and understand what the other person's saying and the inflection that they're using it. What I've noticed now, and I don't know if we've just upgraded or downgraded tech because we're lazy or because it's helpful, but almost everybody recently has been using voice memo.
Right.
I get more voice memos now than text messages. And that's like a thing that just started happening in the last couple months.
I get the same, absolutely.
Yeah. I do like those better though, because I can press the button.
I know, I get them from you all the time.
Yeah, and listen to them. And now I'm like, this is way better.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially when you're driving.
Yeah,
way better that way. Gemma,
I know.
you're in trouble.
I know, it's bad,
Well, I
actually.
feel like you and I have such a very, very good friendship, and we're a great example of having all three of all the characteristics, and
I
I'm so thankful for
agree.
it.
I am too. I am super grateful.
So,
It's not
okay, well,
easy.
I'm over it that I got ghosted by my friend, and people need to stop doing that and be able to use your words, people. Okay, you're not in preschool.
No ghosting.
No ghosting.
No ghosting. Stop ghosting.
Stop the ghost.
Yeah.
I love it. All right, well, be a better friend to each other.